Hey guys, Jafo here. Welcome to the next part of our how-tos. How to take a miniature, I guess, from box off the shelf to fully painted model. These are our four, let's call it victims slash subjects that we're going to work with. Today, we're going to kill two birds with one stone. I had a request to start painting up my Tomb of Annihilation box set. And I figured I'd pick the board game miniature, so I will show you Qawasha the human druid. So we will go over the paints that we're going to use today. And hopefully my camera will stop falling. There we go. So we'll quickly go over the paints that I'm using today. We'll move Qawasha off to the side. Now, being that he is a druid, we're going to paint him in some greens. I've looked at other images of him, and Qawasha is, I guess, an African-American style human. So we will be painting him in the darker colors of flesh tones. But for the greens, we're going to do a multi-tiered color here. We're going to use some Castellan green, some Lauren Forest, Strachan green, and some Athonian camo shade. That'll take care of the greens, which is going to be a majority of his robes. For his skin tone, it will be Rhinox hide with a pair of highlights of Doombull brown and Tuskor fur. That will give us our flesh tones. As always, I use XV88 to do the leather pouches. My assistant is stealing my paint pots from me at the moment. I will be using Nuln oil to darken that and then relighten it. He also has some yellow on him, so we'll be doing a base in Averland Sunset. And I'll figure out something. I didn't figure it out ahead of time, but we still got to do his staff. Excuse me. We'll do Sandry Dust as the cloth wrappings around the middle there. And I don't know. Let's see. See if we can get that focused in there. That kind of looks like metal. We can maybe put a little bit of metal up on the top of that, the staff's head there. So for that, we would use a little bit of lead belcher, maybe with highlights, if we want to go that fancy, highlights of Ironbreaker. So the first thing we are going to start with, though, is our Castellan green. I'm going to quickly get this ready on my paint palette. In fact, I'm actually not going to cut away for once. I'm going to show you guys what I do. Remember, this is a how-to video, so I would like you guys to be able to paint if you are so motivated. If you are not motivated and you would like your stuff painted, you can contact my studio at the link in the description down below, and we can work on getting your stuff painted for you. So I always have a crummy brush lying around. This is an old Citadel base coat brush that I bring out a little bit of paint. So just putting that on our palette, add just a little bit of water to it. You're looking to make it thinner and more spreadable. You don't want it to clog into the details, and when you're looking at such a fine miniature like that, it will clog real easy if the paint is too thick. So clean up our brush there, off on the side. Now for most of this, because of how tiny he is, I'm going to throw my brush on the ground. That's always an important step, throw your brush on the ground. But we are going to use a Citadel small layer brush. That is what I guess, weapon of choice, as it were. And that is where we're at. So let's get this camera tilted back around and show you what we're going to do. And we will paint this the same way we've done in all of our other videos. I will get it started and kind of show you where I'm going with it. So we are going to paint all of this right here. We are going to paint, in fact, just all of his cloak really, or his robes. I am working from an image that is very crappy because, well, this model was originally a WizKids pre-painted miniature, and they kind of retooled the sculpt. So we're going to do everything but the jewelry. So what I will do is I will clean this all up, and then I will show you what that looks like at the end, and I'll be right back. Alright, there we go. We now have the first layer of the green applied to him. So just like all my other painting videos, if you guys have watched any of those, I'm going to kind of do this guy in multiple sets. And we'll get you to a stage of this will look awesome on your board game table, and then we'll take it up a notch or two or three or too many. And you can probably stop at any time during that, and it'll look great. So here we've got him with his green cloak on. The next thing that we would want to do, at least that I want to do, is I'm going to take my Athonian camo shade, and we're going to apply that all over the green that we've done. And this will just darken up the green, and will also bring out a lot of detail in the, or bring out the detail in the miniature. It'll bring out the folds in his arm or in his cloth. I think it'll just look really awesome. And we can do some kind of different shadings and highlights to make it look even cooler. So here is, in fact, I didn't even need to kind of cut the camera for this one for you guys. I will show you exactly what we're doing. We're just doing an all-over shade with this. And I'm doing this now because I want to let this dry while I work on other parts of his body. Also, as soon as I'm done with this, I've got a, let's call it a paint audible or a paint addendum to the list of paints you would need to paint along with me. And that is because I realized the colors I wanted to do. So there you go. By the way, oops, hold on, we didn't even get his chest yet, or his upper chest. So let's get that real quick. When you're working with shades, especially the stuff from Games Workshop, you want to make sure that it's not pooling anywhere funny. Like right here on his back, kind of dry that up a little bit, blot that up a little bit, and we can even just spread it around and use that to kind of re-highlight. You want to watch where it's pooling, because if it's pooling in a place that you're not going to want, you don't want it to be super dark there, or you just don't want to have an extra blob of color. You want to make sure that you get that taken care of. Alright, so now we got that done. Let's make a quick paint color audible here. We're going to give him a wood staff, and to do that we're going to use a two-layer system of Dryad Bark and Gorthor Brown. With the Lied, a third layer system. We're also going to use some Agrax Earthshade. And we'll just bring that into the staff and all there. He has, and we're actually going to use that also on his gauntlets. We're going to give him wood gauntlets. I think that's something a druid would probably do, is make gauntlets out of wood. I think they would look pretty freaking awesome if he did. So, the next color that we need to do, in fact, let's get to that. We'll use our new audible paint. Dryad Bark. Give it a good mix. Crack it open. We're going to take a decent sized dollop of paint, put it on our paint palette. Make sure that it's nice and spreadable. So you just add a little bit of water to it. And then this. That's another thing I did forget to tell you guys that I always have in my arsenal, is I always have some paper towel to, you know, just put paint on, or a nice rag that you're going to use to clean your brushes. So you want to get the excess water off. That's all it is. So this guy, let's take some Dryad Bark, and we're going to go here and paint the staff. We're also going to paint his arm guards. So that's what we got. I'm going to clean that all up. I'll be right back and show you what that looks like. There we go. We've added our leather pouches and our fancy leather boots. Yes, I think that's the only way it can be said. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to darken up that leather so it's not so fancy. Yes, I'm doing that on purpose now. I apologize, I can't stop. We are going to switch to our Null oil. And with the Null oil, once again, just want to cover everything up. Make sure that it's not pooling, especially with this one because it is a black ink. You want to just get a good solid coverage. You also want to make sure that the paint is dry before you start adding the ink. Otherwise, you get stupid crap like I just did here, and you start getting ink that looks like tan, and that's not good. We don't want that. So while we wait for that to dry, I'm just gonna kiss this part here on the bag with some ink. Make sure we don't have too much. There we go. I just want to make sure you're careful on where you're putting your ink. This model is a lot tinier than I'm used to doing. Here we go. Make sure you get all the way around a boot. And there we go. So we got that done. So the next thing we're going to do, that we need for a base coat, the base coat, which would pretty much finish this off, is Rhinox hide. So we're going to put some Rhinox hide, and that's going to be his skin tone. Once again, add just some water to this. And remember, if you add too much water to your paints and the paints are too thin, that's okay because you can always add a second and a third layer. If you have to add more than probably 3 layers, your paint probably is too thin and you should go back and add more paint to your water. You're actually looking at more of a wash than you are at just a thin paint. So we're going to cover his whole face here, and then we're also going to do his arms. We're actually going to cover up, he's got 2 bands on this arm that I'm going to come back, so we're just going to cover that up for now. But I'm going to do that. I will be right back, show you what it looks like. Alright, now we've got his flesh tone base applied. We have 4 more colors that I'm going to just do real quick. I have got a Xandri Dust, a Bed in Black, Averland Sunset, and some Lead Belcher. I will quickly go over where they are going to go. We're going to put some metal in the tip of his staff here. We're going to paint his hair black. We're going to do the Xandri Dust on the wrappings on the staff, and he's got 2 around his arms. And then the Averland Sunset is going to be this necklace. So I'm going to very quickly paint all of that up for you guys off camera, and I will be back to show you what that looks like, and we'll go from there. There we go. We now have added the last remaining colors to our model. Whoops, I did forget, and it's really hard to notice and really easy to miss it. He has 1 strip of banding right across his arm here. So I'll quick get that for you guys. So I'm going to put that underneath his armpit. So we got that. So there you go there. Alright, as I was about to say, back bucket, you're not going to see this. There we go. We now have our miniature more or less complete. This would be a wonderful stopping point and would add a great depth to your models on the table. Instead of looking like as I pop him off his base, that blue plastic down there, he actually has some life to him. And it'd be easy to spot out who's playing Qawasha. But of course, that's not how we roll here. And let's start layering them up. So the first color we're going to do is Lauren Forest. And we're going to work on his armor, or clothing. And what you want to do is you want to get in wherever it doesn't have a fold. You want to brighten this whole thing up. So this is going to take me a little bit. Just want to show you guys kind of what we're doing. So just a very tiny bit will show you. I am going to keep this area down here. Let me, so I don't accidentally paint it. I'm going to keep this area down here darker. In fact, I'm probably going to go back in. I'll do that right now. Let's go back in with our Athonian camo shade. Let's put a second coat of that on the lower half here. We want to give this real dark, and this will give it some of its own shadows to it. I just want to do where all these dongles are. Yes, that's a funny word, dongle. It's not even a made-up word. It's a dongle. Look it up. Don't actually know what it means. Well, actually, it's just like a wooden, another fancy Wisconsin word, doohickey. But we want to darken this up. So we'll add some shading contrast right there. And then I'm going to keep working on the upper half here. We're going to brighten up this section here and that section there. I'll work on that and I'll be right back to show you what it looks like. There we go. We're starting to brighten up his cloak, leaving some shade, like I said, where I wanted it. And now we're going to go up one more layer of excuse me, as my voice starts cracking. I'm going to add some Strachan green, and we're going to just hit the high points on here. So we just want to kind of hit wherever we think light's going to be the most effective. So of course across his chest, the high spots on the folds here. And all we're doing is we're just trying to bring it up just a little bit brighter. So we're going to kind of do that. On the back here, you actually want to go on the ridges here of the folds and the creases. You can hear my phone in the background. Apparently I'm in dire needs of intention, which, you know, when you keep filming a video you can't really do. So you want to get the folds of his cloak here. And we're going to keep doing that and go through here. And there we go. So that's just kind of going through and touching this up, and you're just trying to bring a little bit of light to the model at this point. That's what this layer is doing. It's adding some light, some highlights. That's why it's called highlighting. So we're trying to just, wherever the light would be hitting the most. And that's really up to you. You could, if you're really curious on doing lighting and light paths, there are other painters out there who do very good. I would suggest watching Sarastro. He is a very amazing painter who does very much work in light and shadow. He's very one who would take a light source from, say, here and make it bleed onto him and show you how it would work like that. So that's kind of what we got there. I think that looks pretty cool. Hopefully you guys that are painting along with me, you've done something similar. Kind of mark out his chest a little bit so it's brighter. And that's just a nice variations of colors right there. There we go. So the next one we're going to work on is some Doombolt Brown. Let's brighten up his skin tone just a little bit. We'll get that all prepped on my palette. There we go. Just a little bit of Doombolt Brown. It doesn't have a whole lot of skin tone showing. Alright. So this one, you're going to kind of go over a lot of his skin. And as you guys know, if you've watched some of my other videos, I am not a huge fan of painting skin tones. So it doesn't matter white, black, brown, green, purple. I just don't do skin tones real well. But we're going to try and make this work. So what we're going to do is paint most of his head here in this color, leaving the darkness under his eyes. So I'm going to quick clean this all up. We'll also touch up his arms here, and I'll be back and show you what I all did. Alright, be right back. Alright, there we go. We now have the, what did I add last? Doombull Brown. Ha! Forget what color I was working with. Doombull Brown. And then I went ahead and added my Tuskgore fur. And really all I did was I kind of give him a little bit of a it looks almost pinkish. Honestly, when I'm looking at this color, this is not a color scheme I would add, or think I would add. But in the light here on camera, it actually does look like I kind of give some shine to his nose. And that's really all I did, was I gave him a little bit of shine to his nose and a shine to the top of his forehead. But you can see what his, let's see if I can block out some of this sunlight that I got coming through here. I just kind of worked on the musculature and left some of the shadow in there to show the differentiation of muscles. So the next thing we would have would be the Gothor Brown. And the Gothor Brown, what we're going to do with that is we're just going to add that a little bit to the wood to kind of give it a little bit more life, depth, things like that. I'm just going to almost want to dot it on here. And it's sometimes when you're painting, you look at stuff and you're like, you know what, I don't like that, and you paint over it. So before it dries, get yourself some water, flood the area. You can kind of wipe away the paint. Another good reason to keep some paper towel nearby, soak up the water real quick. And hopefully that does what we wanted to. Unfortunately it didn't, because I was stupid and let it dry, which means we'd have to go back over. So I'm going to monkey around with this for a little bit and see what I can do to make this look good. We are going to take a little bit of this and kind of just use it as an edge to the wood. Kind of give that a lighter wood colored. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't like that. I'm going to delete this footage and you won't see it. So there we go. There we go. We now have the Doombull Brown applied. As we also went ahead and used the Tuskgore fur, and I just kind of put a slight dab on his nose and up on his forehead a little bit. And in the light here, it kind of gives him just that light shine, a little bit of sheen coming through here. The last color that I'm going to use today is some Iron Breaker. It is a little bit brighter silver. And we just kind of want to touch the tips of our staff, and again, that's just to give it a little bit of light and life. So simplified by there. Now there are some other touches you can do. If you've seen my other videos, when I do leather, I go back to my XV88 here and I kind of touch around the tops. I kind of reapply the leather in certain spots, just trying to give it some dimensionality while keeping that, you know, shade to it. And then the only thing that would be left to do is to kind of clean up your messes a little bit and paint the basics. For that, now all my Massive Darkness guys, if you guys have been following, that's mostly what I've been painting. All my Massive Darkness guys are in a gray, very much similar to what it is here. But since these guys from the board game are in a blue, I thought, you know what, let's try a different one. So I got out a Sotek Green, which is a very tealy blue, as you guys can see right there. And I'll apply that to my pot or my palette, and then I'm going to apply that to my base. So I'm going to do that real quick, and I'll be right back and show you what that guy looks like. There we go. With that, we now have our completed Qawasha human druid from the Tomb of Annihilation board game painted. This will be the first in a series of 4, I don't know, videos just to show you some different models. So show you where we took him all the way up from, essentially from this. In fact, further than this, he was that color, that blue color. Well, his base was, or his model was blue. I can actually show you. Took him from that color all the way up to this. This will add a ton of life to your board game if you end up painting all of your miniatures. So I hope you stay tuned and follow along with the next in the video series. We're going to paint up, I don't know, wolves or orcs, whatever I feel like doing. And just to give you guys some differences, I am going to paint the werewolves in 2 different color schemes, hair schemes, I guess, to show you differences on how to do those. But I think this guy will look amazing. And as always, you know, you will see him at arm's length like that, which is, you know, from there you really can't tell anything. But when you come close and you look at him close, he looks awesome. And I think your friends that sit down to play board games or play Dungeons and Dragons with you will be that much more engrossed in what's going on. Thank you for watching this. If you still are not motivated enough to paint this video and you want me to paint, look in the description down below. And contact me on my Facebook page, and we can maybe work something out, and I can paint some miniatures for you. Thanks for stopping by.